Hello, my name is Robert Davis with Formula. Today we will show you how to install the RCC remote, or the remote cartridge control. The RCC controls both high-speed and low-speed compression damping. Once installed into the fork, it becomes integrated into the cartridge. With the remote design, you obtain 13 different adjustment settings, more than just using the standard lever. Let's get started. To begin, remove the air cap and inflate the fork to 100 psi. Before inflating the fork to 100 psi, be sure to note your personal pressure rating. After you've inflated your fork, go ahead and remove the cable from the clamp and install the clamp on the side you would like the remote to be. Using two 8mm wrenches, remove the cable from the clamp. Using a 3mm wrench, open the clamp and install on your handlebar. In your desired location and orientation. It's important to keep in mind which direction you want the lever to move, whether you want it on top of the bar or behind it. Once the clamp is installed, the next step is to measure the hose length. To measure hose length, the best process is to hold the pin end of the hose next to your lockout, and then hold the hose next to your clamp. The idea of the hose length is to have the shortest possible distance between clamp and fork without too much of an arc or being too short. Once you have your basic idea, the tip of the compression fitting will be your guide for the length of the black sheath. Once you have the length, add 1 centimeter and cut the hose. After cutting your hose to length and removing 1 centimeter of the black sheathing, remove the lockout lever and install the lockout pin. To remove your lockout lever, use a 2.5mm wrench to remove the retaining screw. With the screw out, you must use the lockout lever like a wrench to remove the lockout assembly. During this process, you may lose some fluid. Before installing the lockout pin, apply a small amount of grease to the O-ring and the threads to ensure proper movement of the pin. Hand tighten the hose completely into the fork until it stops. Do not over tighten, as this will render the lockout inoperable. This next step is critical for the remote to work properly. Be sure the hose is tightened all the way into the lockout position on top of the fork. From here, move to the clamp. Make sure the lever is in the lockout position. Once you know the lever is in the lockout position, insert the cable into the compression fitting, slide the nut down, and tighten to 8 Newton meters. With the compression nut fully tightened, install your dust cover on both the lever and the fork. Check the free movement of the lockout all the way down the hose to the top of the fork. With your RCC working properly, the next step is to reset your air pressure. If you do not remember your air pressure, we have a chart on the back of the fork. Finally, install the cap. Now that your RCC is working perfectly, get out and ride.